Question says explain the utility of layered network architecture and write down the similarities as well as differences between OSI and TCP IP model. Here, utility means what are the advantage, why we need layered network architecture, what is the use, what are the benefits. The utility of layered network architecture are as follow. First point says layered network architecture simplifies the design by dividing them into functional layers and assigning protocols to perform each layers of task. Second point, layered architecture supports scalability by allowing for the addition of new layers or modification of the existing ones to accommodate growth in the network size or complexity without disrupting overall functionality. Third point says issues can be identified and resolved more efficiently as network administrator can focus on the layers where the problems occurs without disrupting the operations of other layer. That means suppose our architecture has several layers. So last point says suppose if there is a problem in this layer, then it will not then it will be easily troubleshoot, right? And it will not impact the functionality of other layers and it will easily be identified by this layer. And the second point says suppose if in a particular layer also if you want to add some new protocols, we can easily add without changing the whole architecture. Or if suppose currently we have four layers, and if suppose in future we need to add more layers, then also we can add it without impacting the other layers. That is what are the utilities of layered network architecture. Now, what are the similarities between TCP and OSI models? So before that, let's see what are the OSI, the structure of OSI and TCP IP models. In OSI model, if you see, we have application layer, presentation layer, and session layer. And all three layers constitutes to application layer in TCP IP. So instead of three layers, we have only one layer in TCP IP for application, presentation, and session layer. In OSI, we have transport layer and the same as in TCP IP. In OSI, we have network layer and the same we have in network layer in TCP IP. And in OSI, we have data link layer and physical layer as a two distinct layers. But in TCP IP, we join both these layers and make one layer called as network access layer. Now let's see the similarities. Both are logical models. Both divide the network communication process into layers. Both models simplifies the troubleshooting process by dividing complex function into simpler components. That means in both the models, we can see it is divided, the functionalities are divided into several layers and it can be easily troubleshoot. Suppose if some protocols of TCP is not working, we can directly check in the TCP layer, transport layer, what is the issue. And if suppose some protocols of application layer is not working, we can directly go to application layer in this layer and check what is the issue. So it helps in troubleshooting also. Now let's see the differences between TCP IP and OSI models. OSI stands for Open System Interconnection, whereas TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol / Internet Protocol. In OSI models, we have 7 layers, whereas in TCP model, we have 4 layers. And we have already seen the architecture. To define the functionality of upper layers, it uses 3 separate layers: application, presentation, and session. But in case of TCP IP, we have only one layer. For upper layer, it uses a single layer, that is application layer. As we have seen here, this part. So this is the upper layer. Now, to define the functionality of lower layers, it uses 2 separate layers, that is physical and data link layer. But in case of TCP IP, we uses only single layer, that is network access layer. Now it is vertically approached and it is horizontally approached.